All right, it's full-on football off-season mode for us now, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about a district where the Texans are going to hang out.
Hey, listen, Texas fans, you can have a lot of issues with your team, but at least your star player, at least what we know, at least that burner account hasn't been leaked talking about the players around them. It's a little bit better for the Houston Texans than it is the Houston Rockets.
Stan Norfleet here. It's NBA All-Star Sunday. What would happen to the Texans if one of their All-Stars, as you say, were to be shipped out of here and never see this new facility, the Toro District? More conversation come up right here. Locked On Texans Squad Show.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
Welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman here with you as we always are. Thank you for joining us, whether it's live or listening later on the Locked On Texans YouTube page or anywhere that you get your podcast. Search Locked On Texans. You get this show and John's daily show, which you, of course, should be listening to when you're not listening to this show, because football season never sleeps. It's a long way away from starting again, but it never sleeps. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on NBA Future and get entered in for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, guys, we are in the little bit of the dead period, obviously, before we'll start getting some news, before we get to the combines coming up, and then we'll get into eventually the draft and the legal tampering period, which was always funny to me. Legal tampering. You've been tampering for months. Don't kid yourself. And then we'll get, full-on off-season movement and whatnot, and then we'll be dead again. So before we get there, the Texans have made some news in the past week. If you were sleeping under a rock for some odd reason the last couple of days, they have announced their new headquarters, which we all knew was coming eventually because they are behind the times in the NFL, being based out of their home stadium and practicing at their home stadium. A place that was great in 2002. They've completely outgrown it because everybody else has something better than them. And they are opening up what they are calling the Toro District.
Yeah.
It's going to be out in the Bridgeland area, out in northwest Houston, Cypress area. So RIP to you folks that live out that way that are going to be dealing with all that mess. But a bunch of money going to be spent. I would guess it's going to look like the Star to an extent. If you've been to the Star, which is a really cool area over there in Frisco, I'll give the Cowboys that. What do you think, Stan, of the Texans announcing a headquarters?
I think it's intriguing. Anytime something is new and shiny, the Texans will tell you it will give them an advantage. And this was a football-centric move. With the Texans now getting out of NRG, the project's scheduled to be done in 2029. Up in the northwest corner of the city, going up 290, butting up right there against Cypress. I can't believe, by the way, that that's still Harris County, up that far, 290. But anyway, apparently it still is, and it's going to give them an advantage in that this deal was constructed with football in mind. It's an 83-acre site, which will be a mixed-use development. There's a medical component, there's a retail component. Hotels, obviously living environment, condos and all those other things out there. Some waterfront components. It's kind of dope concept. But of the 83 acres, the Texans will use 22 of those acres from a football standpoint, centralizing all of their business and player personnel, all their folks. So day to day, everybody's going up there. Here's my last thought before I turn it over to you, John. I want to hear more players speak about it. Now, I heard one former Texan that does some radio here in the area for their flagship. He spoke highly of it because he thought the way, if you know, think about NRG and 288 and 610 and Kirby, like the players are kind of, the players, the ingress, egress standpoint or geography, a lot of guys are living 288 South, Pearland, Sienna. A lot of guys are south or they're living inside the loop. Some of those new guys, correct. Rocher, Arcola, down this way. Highway 6, really been developing Manville. So a lot of guys are living south. You got a couple guys. You remember Jimmy Ward had his issue that was up in Montgomery County up north. So this apparently is supposed to elicit guys to try and stay, regardless of where you are on the pay scale in NFL. Everybody can be housed, more team camaraderie, and try and make it more of a college feel. So I'm for it. It's just going to be so different because the last 25 years, guys have normally been living inside the loop and south of the city.
I will say this, Cypress area, they do have some very nice neighborhoods. So it's going to open in 2023, right? And I think that 2029, I'm sorry, 2029. Mm-hmm. And when we compare to what the Dallas Cowboys have, somebody on Twitter made a great point that I wanted to point out. It's still in Harris County. The Texans will still play in Houston compared to Dallas. The facilities and the team doesn't technically play in Dallas. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty fire. Shout out to the Houston Texans team to get that deal done, to keep it in Harris County.
Yeah, thanks for staying out of Fort Bend County. I appreciate you.
And thank you for staying out of Northeast Houston. Won't necessarily say where I stay, but for you guys that live on that side where that traffic is going, God bless. Right? If you got to be somewhere at 8, leave the house at 5. Because it's going to get real bad, especially when you get to training camp. But I think the most important thing that I want to point out is it's going to create a lot of jobs. So
I heard some 15,000.
I saw the number will create around 17,000.
17,000.
When we look at this economy, now obviously this is in 3 seasons, 3 years, and so there's a waiting period, right? And I'm sure everybody in their mama who needs a job will apply to work there. But you look at the shopping facilities, you look at some of the other things at the Toro District, which is a fire name, right? Keeping the theme.
Okay, we can debate on this one. I think it's absolutely terrible.
I like Toro District.
I don't like it. I don't like
it. What else do they call it, right? But before we get to that point, like I just think from an economic standpoint, it will create opportunities for Houstonians and people who live in Harris County. So I like that. I mean, outside of that, having to travel there for practices, that may end up being, especially with the traffic it already has, that may end up being a 55-minute drive there and back. And so am I looking forward to that? Not necessarily. But to your credit, Stan, like this could be a strategic way to keep players a little bit closer together, which in turn could keep, maybe outside issues from happening as frequently. Maybe, who knows? Things happen, but y'all don't like the Toro District name? What's wrong with that?
No, I don't understand. Like the Cowboys had it easy with it being the Star, which is great. I do love, and we see this with sports franchises all over the place. They're all gunning towards this type of thing, where they have, whether it's a baseball stadium that has, this kind of district around the stadium because they don't practice like this, or the football team's doing this. Like, I think it's super smart. I look, I'm not like I said, I'm not in Harris County. I'm in Fort Bend County. So I feel bad for the taxpayers that are footing the $150 million bill that's coming with this. I think that's a little bit wild, but the Toro name is just terrible. I don't know what I would name it. Stan, what would you name it?
I don't know, man.
No,
I don't know. Battle Red Square. I don't know. I'm just throwing out something. I'm sure they went through all of their marketing and going to the focus groups and something like that. I'm more concerned with the business that gets done. And I heard Cal and Hannah put something out on social media since the last time the three of us, had to sit down, and they said this was about football. This was about, right now, the way it's designed, you got players have to make that walk after training camp, and sometimes they can get on the car and go from the west side of Kirby back to the stadium, and the dressing rooms on the east side. That bubble that they use over there at the Methodist Training Center, Houston Methodist Training Center, that bubble is not a full 100-yard football field, and they can't get work done when they need to be inside and have multiple bubbles or a big bubble that will house 2 or 3 fields. So that would give some more advantage. Training camp is certainly going to look a lot different. And I think the coolest component is the opportunities that it poses for local high schools will have access to it. You'll have business ops that will be in there as well. Perhaps this is how the Texans will lure the NFL draft. We know that the draft has bounced around to NFL cities. Perhaps the draft can come here to the Houston and to Harris County. So those types of things were taken into account when doing this. And for those that feel like, of all the sites that were being used, a lot of people wanted the Astro World site on the other side of 610 across the street from NRG. Could they have developed that? I think there is something to be said that Cal McNair is a graduate of Cy-Fair High School, so he's quite familiar up in that part of the city. I ask you guys a question as we continue this because I'm fascinated by this. I can't wait till renderings start to be released. I haven't seen any renderings of it. I've just seen more site maps. Question. Some people believe that this is not truly the site when the shovel is going to go on the ground. Some people believe this is a ploy to get some other site to step up and to match the deal. Do y'all think this is happening?
No chance. I bet that this is actually happening.
I think this is it. It would be irresponsible on their behalf to announce Bridgeland and the area and everything. I think 83 acres, it would kind of be irresponsible for them to announce it officially without having other companies or entities bid if they were to have a bidding war. I feel like once you announce it, this is just me personally, you kind of got to roll with the punches on it, right?
Well, from my understanding, the folks in the construction space can tell me different, but to my understanding, a deal is not done until the shovel is in the ground. And I go back to prior to coming back to Houston to be on air when I was formerly at 790, I was working for Radio 1 in Charlotte covering the Carolina Panthers as the flagship, and David Tepper, who was then the wealthiest owner in the NFL prior to the the Walton Penner family who bought the Broncos. He literally had steel beams up. He had infrastructure for a practice facility in Rock Hill, South Carolina, just across the border from Charlotte. And literally, he abandoned the site when the city wasn't ponying up their money. So he did do it. I've seen it done where a shovel goes in the ground, steel beams up, and literally guys walk off the job site. So I'm not saying that will happen here. I'm just saying that I'm probably leaning more this is going to happen, given that the association with the owner and the local ties, unlike what's going on in Carolina, that David Tepper is not from there. But it was just a notion that I've heard thrown out there.
I think the other issue there is that, okay, if you did that, where the hell else are you going to go? There's nowhere to go.
Northeast Houston.
They're not going there. They're not going to like the Woodlands or something. There's no space for them.
I've heard Katy. I've heard Katy was a proposal.
Where are you even putting it there?
I mean, you can go places. It's 83 acres. It's not 8,300 acres. I mean, 83 acres is not that much.
That area that they've picked, it is a booming area, and they've got that whole other side of 99 that they're going to develop into more neighborhoods and everything. So that's why, to me, I'm like, I don't know where the hell else they'd go. This seems like the only place you could go.
Two things. I want to shout out the Rhino. I respect John's fresh fade. I appreciate that. The Rhino. I look good. I feel good, and I can pop good. But so we're going to talk about, is it a new stadium coming next? So guys, we want you to understand this is just more so of a practice facility, and it'll be a neighborhood facility, not where the Texans will play on Sundays. However, when the Texans do have those fan training camp days, it's going to be amazing for guys to go to the practice, fans out there with the family and friends, and not necessarily have to just be in a parking lot to enjoy the practice. Like if you go out there now, the Texans do a great job of putting food trucks out there, exciting things to do for the kids and families. But now a lot of that stuff could be in more air-conditioned spots and locations, which we know when you get to July and August, maybe the young kids don't feel it as much as the older people, but when it get hot outside, you may get ready to go. So I think that's fire. You can meet up with some friends, go get you a beer on the inside, talk ball, talk about the Houston Texans, and talk about whether or not you still believe in your quarterback, which a lot of you are 50-50. It feels like 60-40 on. So it's not a new stadium where they will play on game day. It's a facility where they were practicing, amongst other things. But this is a good start for Houston as we get ready to discuss, will there be some type of a new stadium that could be leveraged after this?
Let's talk about that here in a brief moment on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Before we get there, though, finding a doctor can actually feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network nearby and has availability, but you also want a doctor who who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone who you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties. You're from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. Look, Zocdoc makes the entire process simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. You can see real-time availability and book instantly. No phone calls, no waiting on hold. It is fantastic. Stop putting off these doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book your doctor that you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to Zocdoc for sponsoring this message. So, the Houston Texans will eventually, in 2029, it's going to be here way faster than we need it to be. I'm going to almost be 40 years old by the time that gets here, guys.
Can we promise each other? There's a pinky promise that we'll still be doing this show together.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. You guys going to go anywhere?
Be nice. Yeah.
I'm not going.
I mean, if Locked On wants to expand the brothers' reach and we're going to do this show and the overall national show and talk about all the teams, I'm in for it.
We need to, maybe during draft time, maybe we can set this up. Can we do a live show out somewhere? We do that? Can we, or sometime in the summer?
What did you say? Because you kind of cut out there. We didn't hear you.
So can we get a live show maybe during draft season or maybe this summer where we'll get outside at a nice place and get some beer going, get some drinks going.
Actually see each other?
People.
Yeah.
Cool.
People don't want to know this. We've never all three been in the same place together. We've been doing the show for a year?
Not quite. This summer will be a year. May
I think May was our first official.
That's right. It's somewhere in time, sometime in May.
We coming up soon.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, John. We should look to that. Let me see, can I put on the old sales and marketing hat, go get a deal done for us to pull up somewhere?
Hey, maybe eventually they'll want to have us at the Toro District.
Something tells me we will be out at the Toro District.
Just do it ourselves. Yeah.
Can I add something on that? I know we need to transition to NRG, but I do want to acknowledge something from John referenced the 17,000 jobs that are estimated. And again, this is a three-person relationship, if you will, three different entities. The Texans being one of the three, Harris County being the second, and then it's Howard Hughes, who is the developer that essentially created the Woodlands. Those three entities, the Texans are only getting 22 acres of the 83 acres. So you still got, the overwhelming majority in those other two entities that are going to use that for all types of things. So I'm focused more so on the 22 acre piece personally. But with that being said, they were talking about, who will this create jobs for directly? You know what I mean? And some people are making that correlation to, all right, those training camp employees that have been working around NRG and the areas around there, those folks may not. You got to remember that light rail infrastructure. Now, the game days are still going to be game day, as you pointed out, John, but that light rail helps get a lot of employees in and out of NRG for training camps and other events. I think the watch parties, some of those watch parties during the season when the team is playing away, some of those things take place downtown. I presume this facility will have some type of amphitheater or some component that you can house a whole bunch of people and watch those games. All of those jobs go away from those individuals. I don't know enough about the demographics up on the Northwest side, though I did spend some time, ironically, in Cyprus over the weekend. What's the demographic up that way? Who are these jobs going to is essentially what I'm asking.
It's a good question. That developed area is definitely on the more affluent side. I would say.
So this is people coming down from Waller County. Some of those folks up 290, making their way coming out of Prairie View, coming down Waller.
Also still in a lot of depending on like it's 83 acres, so I guess depending on how far the 83 will stretch out to the spring area. Also between spring and cypress, they kind of blend a little bit, so maybe that's that could be the target people, communities. That's a great question because I wouldn't see them, and maybe if the Texans do this, hats off to the McNairs, would they shuttle maybe some workers over there? I don't know how that would look like.
I don't know how that works either.
That's a logistic thing that's not for me, but that's a good question. I don't know who the target workers would be. I just know that it would create thousands of jobs, presumably for that neighborhood before anybody else.
And the jobs are not just directly tied, meaning employees of the Texans and whatever the football entity that they call it. The jobs are going to go to construction workers that are building these player homes. And Mike Toman is the president. I'm sure he's going to have a lovely situation going on. So you got construction, you got people. There are different spaces and avenues for people to get paid. It doesn't just have to be tied to the Texans. The last thing on that before we get to the stadium is, if you guys can hear me, the airport. I believe this team normally flies out of Bush.
Yeah.
So when you look at the distance from Bush, when you're coming back from away games, if guys truly are going to be living in this Bridgeland area up off 290, you got to remember, if you live in Siena, for example, which is down the road from me, if you live in Siena and now they play that 9 o'clock Monday night game in Seattle, they fly back into Bush. You get back in the wee hours of the morning. Then you got to get back to NRG. When you get back to NRG, I got to get in my car. Even if they allow you to park at Bush, it's still a 50-minute commute with no traffic from Bush all the way down here, down 288 South. So if you can cut down the commute from the players, especially when you're coming back from road games in that airport commute, that's another hour to 2 hours when you start talking about over the course of a 17-game season. Those are more hours that guys get more rest, guys can get more, rehab. And we'll see if that directly ties to on-field performance, but cut down that commute so that you can have those extra minutes to work with, or hours to work with, I should say. I do see an advantage there.
Yeah.
Right now, Bush is 47 minutes with no tolls away from Bridgeland.
47 minutes.
A little bit of a trek.
No
tolls?
30,
Yeah. No, you
37 with tolls, and then we compare that.
Compare that to Siena and Pearland, Mo City.
It's far. I drive. I'm near the Sugarland area, and I drive to Bush occasionally, and it's an hour drive from my house. It's not close at all. As everybody
15
knows.
Minutes for me. So.
That must be nice, buddy.
Oh, it is.
I take that all day. That's my eventual commute all the time, and I am not looking forward to that hour drive. The stadium now question. Do we think that is the next nugget that falls? Will we be seeing a new stadium or an announcement that they're going to completely overhaul NRG? What do we think's happening there?
Great question. Is the NRG, like the question I'd ask, is the NRG that bad? Some will say yes. But just last offseason, they did internal renovations. The roof has been an issue for the NRG for some time. I think
it was leaking last night.
It was leaking bad.
Yeah.
So that's still an issue that the team has to worry about. And it's not just like the McNairs. Is it Houston Sports Authority?
Yeah.
That technically owns the NRG.
Harris County, Houston Sports Authority. Yep.
They have to, play their part. But again, the question would be, where would the stadium go? Like with 83 acres, can they afford to build on that 83 and create a new stadium with that as well?
Oh, 83 acres is more than enough.
It's more than enough, right? And so,
to do that.
Logically, you wouldn't want to build a district, a Toro District, and if you have to build a stadium, not build it close by. I think that'd be too much on fans and the players, to your point, Stan. So for Houston, I'm different. I don't know. Yes, I think something I absolutely need to get into because the lease is up is it 3 years?
I feel like they renewed, but I don't know.
They renewed?
Because it's going to take a minute to build a stadium if you start,
right.
It takes you a couple years, 2-3 years for sure. All right. So this particular area of stadium renovation, stadium relocation, in a former life before I spent over a decade and a half now in sports media, I spent a decade in selling suites, tickets, hospitality, corporate sponsorships for several teams, the Rockets and the Texans being two. I also worked directly for Jerry Jones, helping fans relocate and companies relocate from AT&T Stadium or from Texas Stadium in Irving to AT&T Stadium in Arlington. So this is in my wheelhouse. The life expectancy of an NFL stadium at the time that NRG, formerly Reliant, is constructed is about 30 years. After about that 30-year mark, you need to start thinking about flipping it. Now, when you build those stadiums, you're thinking about the renovation to a certain degree in mind. Perhaps, maybe they go across the street. Maybe that's where the site for, old Six Flags, man, Astro World, maybe that's where that comes in. And they start looking to build on the other side.
How about you tear down the Astrodome?
We got to do something with that. I mean, that's an albatross. Like, that looks
waste of
awful.
Space. It's a waste of space.
It looks terrible. Aesthetically, I get it. I understand it's iconic. I understand. Totally get the history. Played inside that building. But at the same time, if it doesn't work with modern football, then we got to do something else, or modern entertainment. I think, last thing for me, MC, speaking of the AT&T Stadium and Jerry, the Texans' new president, who's been here for about a year, Mike Tomlin, he comes from Legends Hospitality, which is a spinoff of Jerry Jones and some other folks, New York Yankees and some other people. It's a hospitality company that specializes in helping you construct and sell out a new stadium. Mike Tomlin, I believe, was brought here not just for this new practice facility. I think Mike Tomlin was specifically brought here so that Harris County and the McNairs can go cash in on a beautiful new stadium. And guess what you need with a beautiful new stadium to truly get it sold? Having a competitive product, which the Texans have, is beautiful. But you got to have that quarterback position solidified. Jerry Jones has told me himself he could not have charged what he charged to get seats in suites inside of AT&T Stadium if somebody like a Tony Romo or better were not under center. CJ Stroud means a lot to the future of the Texans' overall net value.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I agree. The light on the life thing, like that makes a lot of sense. And I just think that we're going to get the news eventually that they're building a new stadium. I'm just genuinely curious where that's going to be, because like the other things, like where do you put it? Is it going to end up all the way out there? Like, what are the logistics of that? Like the whole, infrastructure of roads out there is not enough for an NFL stadium right now. It's not even it's not even enough for this district at the moment. Like 99 is not big enough to handle that kind of traffic.
Game day traffic, correct? Yeah,
game day traffic. Like that's one way in, one way out right now at the moment. They'd have to do some serious work on that. But I think, the other thing about it too is you go, and I've been lucky enough. I've been in, I think, like 6 or 7 of these NFL stadiums now, and most of them are the newer. They're all, of course, newer ones because that's where the Super Bowls have been. I get why they'd want to do a new stadium. They probably want to be in the Super Bowl mix like more often.
Yeah, for sure.
They've gotten 2 so far, and honestly, the second one was kind of I felt like it was a lucky to get it one. These other stadiums are so like I think the nicest one I've been in is the stadium in Minnesota. That thing is
Minnesota's U.S. Bank is good. Yeah,
unbelievable.
SoFi Stadium is killing the game right now. Vegas.
SoFi is nasty.
It's an arms race, right? It's just like you're doing this district. They're gonna. I would get I'll put my name on it right now. I'd say within a year they're gonna announce where the new stadium's gonna be.
You're probably right.
In 2032. And so with the Toro District being in 2029, that gives them, like you say, another year, so 2027, that'll give them about 5 years to get that stadium and everything going. Obviously, I believe the city of Houston and taxpayers will have to vote on if they want to do the stadium or not or something like that. But you got to look at, like, when the NRG first, I say this all the time, being a Houstonian, born and bred, the NRG area, when it was first built off Kirby, was a different area than it is 25 years later. It felt a lot safer, right? Compared to now, where when I say this, don't take it the wrong way, because this is not me being disrespectful, but now they deal with a little bit more homeless crisis a little bit now, more panhandlers now. the roads between downtown and
Buffalo Speedway, South Main Street. Yeah.
The roads are god awful, you know. And so now you look at a team who, Stan, I missed the Boca, but it felt like you said CJ Stroud used to be the franchise quarterback to allow more butts to fill the seats and things of that nature. But now you look at a team who at the very least have Will Anderson on the other side of the ball. I mean, he's box office in itself. You want to get those butts in stadiums, but when you get around RG now, does it feel safe? That's number one question. Is it a family-safe environment? Some people may say no to that. Now, me being a Houstonian, I may feel differently because I know the streets. But for quote-unquote transplants who come from town, visitors, whatever, does that area seem appealing? I don't think it does anymore. Look at the streets are being jacked up. So I think ultimately when we look at the Houston Texans constantly wanting to revamp and expand and have a different game day experience, they're going to eventually have to look at getting a new stadium, but also moving that stadium to an area where it feels more inviting. I don't think Kirby and 610 feels inviting anymore.
I think they better be careful with that transportation component. They've got to think about stadium workers, fans, that public transit. We all remember when the Super Bowl came here in 2004, after that 2003 season, if memory serves. That was the whole reason they put that light rail system in, so people could stay downtown in hotels and then catch the light rail out to NRG Park, what is now NRG Park. You start taking the stadium away from that, now you're impacting that light rail. Well, what the hell happens that? And then your people, your fan base, you got fans of the Houston Texans.
The medical center.
You still at a medical center, but you have fans of Houston Texans. Like, I personally appreciate where NRG is right now. You can come 610, 288, you can come down 59, and I get it. It's not going to be perfect for everybody. And they will do a cost-benefit analysis. They know where their season ticket holders come from. I was in Atlanta on the radio when the Braves built what is essentially the Battery. Mike Tolman brought that up. What they've done in that area, the Battery connected to SunTrust Park up there in Gwinnett County. Why did they go to Gwinnett County and leave essentially the hood where they were down on the southwest side? They went up to Gwinnett because that's where like 70% of their season ticket base was. So they went to where their people were. I'd be very curious to see the social economics, and as data comes out over the next several seasons, where the Texans base actually is. And then to both of your point, where do you go space-wise?
When John Whitmire was elected to mayor for Houston, you know, one of the first things he came out and said, the city is broke.
That's good.
So, like, it don't have money. So when you're asking a city to help, you know, fund these things, and it's kind of like, well, you know, the city is broke. You know, if the city is broke, what does a resident stand? And is it a priority to get a new stadium? Obviously, the lease is up 2032, so they have a few years. But the quicker they get on that decision and hop on train with that, the better. The last thing anybody wants to wait, you know, to the last minute. But
I would add something to that.
Absolutely.
So just the dynamic and how this works, MC, I got my eyes on the clock. I have to say it every show. The way the NFL stadium policy works is new stadium policy. Essentially, the team themselves have to put up about a third. The NFL then has a fund that will incentivize you building a new stadium. You get another third. And then you work out with your local municipalities, if you will, and essentially Harris County would be, or wherever they want to put it, Fort Bend or wherever they're going to put it, that would be the other third. So it's not like the city would have to pay the full freight for a new, and you're going to get some construction costs down in a city like Houston. I estimate that stadium to be somewhere between the $2.5 billion range. So it's not like the city would have to foot the whole bill there, but even a third of that for Harris County, for all of the reasons that you just said, John, that's still, it can be a bit pricey. Now, the city can put the pressure on the owner. The city could say, hey, McNair family, you're worth billions. Build your own damn stadium. You don't have to use the taxpayer dollars if you don't want to. So as we start getting into those dynamics, and again, I think that's part of the reason, a big part of the reason why Mike Tolman is currently the president of the Houston Texans.
And given the history of the city of Houston losing a football team before, we all know that we're all going to cave, and the city and whoever will be giving the money. And you're right, Stan, about the newest stadium, Highmark, which is going to open in 2026, $2.2 billion for that. And that doesn't have a roof.
Buffalo.
So
that's Buffalo.
I'd imagine that the Texans will probably be pushing that $3 billion number when they come to build a stadium there.
Also, sorry, we could do this. I told you I'm a geek about this type of stuff because I've been a part of it. Same thing, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I'm on the air as they're building that. Don't also forget now, those players are getting ready to negotiate that they want grass on all fields.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that impact when you start talking about negotiations and new stadium versus renovating NRG? So we'll see what happens there. Just something more fodder for the conversation.
You get to build a stadium like Allegiant or like the one out there in Glendale that they can put the field,
grow the grass outside,
roll it in there is what they're going to have to do. All right, we have a CJ Stroud question that Stan came up with that we're going to ask you about here in just a second. Locked on Texans Squad Show. All right, ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win the NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking, I should say, at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Everybody loves futures. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick your cash, but it also can send you, like we said, to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started and use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Squad Show rolls on. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman with you. Thanks for joining us here on a Sunday night if you're watching live. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and, of course, get this anywhere that you get your podcast. Go and search for Locked on Texans. All right, Stan. You sent us this one in our text earlier. CJ Stroud question. We all know that the topic is going to continue all offseason long. There's going to be some sort of iteration of discussion on this show, I'd imagine, at least once a week, CJ Stroud related, because it's the elephant in the room. If they were to trade CJ Stroud, what would they get? And on top of that, if they did do that, could Davis Mills pull off a Sam Darnold?
So I heard this on local radio last week, and I thought it was fantastic. It was on the flagship station, and I wanted to make sure that I at least gave us an opportunity to kick this around. Now, I get it. At first glance, people are going to say, there Stan goes again with that hyperbole. Okay, let's just have a conversation. It's the offseason. There's gonna be a lot of bleep just thrown out. But
a lot of time to fill.
All right, but no, seriously though. So but there were a whole bunch of articles written. DJ Bienemy, my man, ESPN.com. He wrote an article that's up right now, late last week, with the Texans defense, and you see what Seattle just pulled off: a defensive-led Super Bowl champion, with a quarterback that nobody has in the top 10 from a talent standpoint, and with a defensive-minded head coach, like the blueprint for the Texans. I remind you, the Seattle Seahawks were third in the league in scoring points. Mm-hmm. So then there's that. You also got to score. All right. So let's look at some of the recent trades for quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, 2021, 2 first-round picks and a third. Immediately takes the Rams to the Super Bowl, a little longer in the tooth at that point. As we know all too well, 2022, Deshaun Watson, 3 first-round picks, a third, and 2 fourths is what it cost the Cleveland Browns to pull it off. Okay.
Plus an all guaranteed contract.
That part. By the way, I saw that he just settled all of the 27 civil suits have now all been resolved. So he's completely done.
Year $80 million cap hit. This season.
Sorry, didn't want to get sidetracked with D. Watt 4. I'm just acknowledging. So let's look at where this team is. Somebody pull up Davis Mills' record as a starter right now in the D'Amico era. I think he started 4 games, 5 games. I can't remember. So we know the 3 this year,
and
then
passed over his first year for Case Keenum, correct?
Well, it was 2 games CJ missed that first year. Keenum started the first one. I think Davis got to start the second one. So somebody look that up, please, while I make this point. Can you imagine, as nasty as that defense is, you start talking about 2 additional first-round picks or 3 additional first-round picks over the next 2 drafts, and maybe Davis becomes a stopgap, and we'll see if they believe in Graham Mertz, who was a draft pick, as Davis Mills was, of Nick Caserio. The infrastructure you could put around, could you finally fix this offensive line? Could you go get one of those prolific receivers from somebody else, or go into the draft and get one of those playmakers, whether it be a flex tight end, whether it be one of those bad running backs over the next couple of years, or whether it be a wide receiver? So for the sake of the conversation, from a football standpoint, given where the salary cap is, you got to remember that's another, $50, $55, $60 million a year, perhaps, that you don't have to pay CJ in an extension, a multi-year deal. So now you can use that money and go right back and invest that to make sure that defense looks like that when some of the names start to change. I think about Danielle Hunter getting a little bit older, Sheldon Rankins getting a little bit older, and others. Do you hate the idea? Are you opposed to the idea of rolling with a mediocre, a bottom-tier starter? In Sam Darnold's case, he's a former number 3 overall pick. But you understand the dynamic. Are you okay with going out there with a lesser quarterback, but to buffer him with just ballers all around him by moving on from CJ Stroud?
Sam Darnold was a former top 10 pick for a reason. Now, obviously, his first couple of years in the NFL didn't pan out like a top 10 pick should have, but he went to the New York Jets, and I think we say the New York Jets are a bad situation that's ready to explode at any point. No, I don't think Houston can afford to do that. I don't. And the guys that you named in terms of quarterbacks that were traded for, Cleveland thought they were getting the Deshaun Watson. It didn't work out because of his body broke down, but they gave up that haul because they thought with the defense they had in place. Now, remind you, that defense in Cleveland, they've been good for a while now. They thought they were going to get the 2021 Deshaun Watson, where he, 38, 11, nearly led the league in passing, right? For the Rams, who had went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, they failed to get it done against the New England Patriots. That offense was completely shut down. They traded for now future Hall of Famer Matt Stafford, Matt Stafford has been a top 6 quarterback in the league for the past 7 years, in my opinion.
Former number 1 overall pick.
Former number 1 overall pick out of Georgia, and we know what he did in Detroit all those years. He immediately takes his team to the Super Bowl. They did a great job of having pieces already around him when he got to LA. So you look at the difference there and the contrast with what Houston has. But no, I don't think Houston can go back to Davis Mills to start for a full season. I think what's an important conversation to have maybe in the future is, does Houston look to move on from Davis Mills to maybe get in a weaker quarterback class this year to get maybe a 3rd or 4th round back for him to be somewhat of a stopgap quarterback? But I think that'll be completely idiotic on Houston to say we're going to move on from CJ Stroud for Davis Mills to get picks backs for us to use, and then we're going to count on Davis Mills to get us to the Super Bowl. Because let's face it, this is what the team is, at least the AFC Championship game. Davis Mills, in my opinion, is a great backup now, if you ask me. Won 3 games when the Houston Texans needed him the most, but he's not going to be good enough to get this team to an AFC Championship game. That's still CJ Stroud, regardless of how we feel about Stroud now after that poor playoff performance. Those picks could go into investment into the offensive line in the draft. Those picks could go into getting a receiver or getting a running back, absolutely. But I think Houston can do the same thing this year while picking up a 5th-year option on CJ Stroud.
I'm with John here. I think if you even entertain anything like this, we talk about all the goodwill that this franchise has built up since the last era of football that they've had. And, now that they're building this, building that, and they want to have goodwill at the stadium and all that, you want to talk about just even though CJ Stroud played like absolute crap, if you tried to sell the fan base, hey, we're just going to dump him and we're going to get a lot of picks and we're going to roll with Captain Longneck again, guys. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to try and win football games with a backup quarterback. I think you'd riot the fan base again, and they wouldn't show up again. So that's me.
More you talk about building a new stadium and a new facility. Davis Mills ain't getting nobody.
I'm going to push back on that.
May not be either.
I'm going to push back on that. I think both of you are talking out your rear end. And I'm going to tell you why. And you're going to love this, MC, so we can do our daily. When the Astros started chipping away at that team, when Garrett Cole leaves and Carlos Correa leaves, and you start seeing Maldonado leaves later on. I know he's not skill-wise on that level, but I'm talking about the fan favorites. Kyle Tucker just got paid. He's been gone for last season. Bregman, the last 2 seasons, have played somewhere else, this being the second of those seasons. The Astros fans still go in there. They still pay their money.
They won 2 chips.
Oh, but listen to my point. The point is the city has moved on from some of its beloved heroes. Now, I agree with your point. Hoisting a title, hoisting that trophy makes things a little more palatable. I get it. But if D'Amico Ryans can say, where did D'Amico come from? He came from San Francisco, right?
Yes.
Kyle Shanahan has put in work without guys that were first-round picks. I've seen Brock Purdy in a Super Bowl. I've seen what's my man?
But that's Kyle Shanahan.
Hold on. Who was the quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo. I've seen him with Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl. I've seen Channel View's own Jalen Hurts, a second-round pick. I have seen him play in multiple Super Bowls. So when we start talking about precedent for non-first rounder, non-top tier selected quarterbacks, if you can build the infrastructure around the quarterback, especially in this Nick Caley offense, which is about what? Get the ball out, know where you need to go with the football. This is not an offense that's asking the quarterback to go do what Lamar Jackson does. This is not an offense that asks, or Josh Allen, from an athletic profile standpoint. This is not an offense that asks him to stretch the field like a Matthew Stafford does. This is an offense that's predicated on system more than talent, meaning strength and athletic ability. So if I have an all-pro offensive line, if I've got 2 of my 5 that are all-pros and Pro Bowlers, if I have a badass running back, if I've got, another outstanding wide receiver opposite of Nico, and I still have the resources to invest in that defense so that Will Anderson and Petrie and Stingley, and we know Caleb Bullock is going to want money as well as Kamari Lassiter moving forward. I'm not saying I would do it because I wouldn't. I would hold on to CJ Stroud. But I'm also not going to hear, I shouldn't say not going to hear, I'm going to refute any argument that in modern football it can't be done because I just gave you a couple programs that have done it.
I mean, it can be done. I think the ultimate outlier of getting the most out of quarterbacks is Kyle Shanahan because his system is a system that everybody else in the league is feeding off of. I joke all the time. I think in 3 years, more than half of the NFL head coaches will come from either Shanahan or Sean McVay in some form, or offensive play call altogether. You look at Philly, they trade for Saquon when they got it done. They had an all-world offensive line. It ain't a lot of Devontae Smiths coming out in the draft. Houston ain't going to be bad enough to get Jared.
I'll push back on that.
It ain't.
Emeka Ibuka, a rookie for the Bucs.
It's not a Heisman-winning receiver.
He is tracking to be a better pro right now. I'm not saying he is. I said if you compare listen to me. I didn't say he is a better player. I said his rookie year compared to Devontae's rookie year, Emeka Ibuka is the better receiver.
I look at the situation where Houston's in right now. I think that they're operating in their own 2-year, 3-year championship window. And I'm on record saying as long as they have Kamari for 2 more years, he's under the rookie deal for 2 more years. Houston's in a really good space. I think the upgrades that Houston needs for them to capitalize on that championship window, they can do this offseason. They can go get a young defensive tackle in the draft. They can invest in a running back free agency and the draft. They also can invest in some of the other areas to help this offense get to where they need. The defense is locked down. And I don't think they could, they should jeopardize their future, the possibility of what their future could look like by trading CJ Stroud and leaning on Davis Mills when Stroud, by all intents and purposes for the conversation, still former NFL Rookie of the Year. I know that's a long time ago, but this team trusts Stroud to push the ball down the field a lot more than they do with Davis Mills. And the issues of this team all around, I think Stroud is maybe third on the list. If you move on from Stroud, quarterback will be number one on the list because you wouldn't have a quarterback to push the economics of the team. And you still be looking for another quarterback. And that'll be 4 seasons. Houston loses out on 2 quote-unquote franchise quarterbacks. If they trade C.J. Stroud, it'll be based off of their own doing. I just think that'll be a complete mess.
I think it's all about winning. I think it's about winning football games. And if they don't believe that C.J. Stroud is worth $250 million, then move him and get something for him. Because he goes out there and has another postseason next year like he did this year, then you're not going to get the value that you have now. There are more people believing in CJ now than if he does this again. So again, I wouldn't do it. I agree with you, John, but I have to pose the argument for all sides to go, I'll be honest with you. I don't hate it. And you can move on from Nick Caley. You may not get Kyle Shanahan, but you can go get a Kevin O'Connell. You can go get Zach Taylor. I'm just saying there are other guys out there that know how to call plays. You could go improve the play caller. And if this system is what it is, then I personally don't hate the idea. I wouldn't do it, but I don't hate the idea.
I would only do it for, we've mentioned them before, the big names that could be available to come back to you in return. We need to grab our final timeout. When we get back, I have a question to wrap up the show for these guys in terms of where the Texans stand among others in the NFL. That's next here in Locked On Texans Squad Show. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms to get to work, on every deduction. You can upload your documents and go about your day and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives you a real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a TurboTax local expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28. Time's ticking. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Final segment of Locked On Texans Squad Show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman. Guys, the offseason is here, and free agency and things like that will be here before that. I had this thought as we were getting ready for the show today. Where do they rank? If you were to sit here and say in terms of attractiveness among the elite in the NFL, of guys wanting to come here and play, where would you put them?
The city of Houston?
The team? You factor it in however you want to factor it in. Team, system, franchise, how they're run, history, facility,
what's the position?
Whatever.
What's the position?
Where would you, like, in terms of look, this is one of the better teams in the league, right?
Okay.
In terms of the better teams in the league, where would you put them? Like, if you had to put them somewhere in a ranking in terms of attractiveness for players to come play for, guys wanting their offseason result to end and them being in a Houston Texans uniform.
What's the position does the player play? Because I think that changed. What position do? Right. If I'm an offensive lineman, Houston is attractive because you need what I do. If I'm a wide receiver, Houston is attractive because all their receivers miss games due to injury. If I'm a running back, Houston might not be so attractive because the quarterback has shown he might turn the ball over in both seasons, but then you don't have an offensive line that I can count on. When Saquon signed with Philly, Saquon knew he was going to be running behind Lane Johnson, and Mailata over there at the left tackle spot. So running back, Houston, not so much. If I play any defensive position, Houston loves that. And then we're going to take quarterback out of the conversation for obvious reasons. When you talk about coming to Houston, you have a young coach with a healthy culture. You also have an ownership group which helps. You also have an ownership group which has shown they will consistently put money into having one of the best cafeterias, one of the best weight rooms in the NFL, which is how the Texans always rank when they do the NFLPA player responses, player grades. The organization always ranks high. Locker room improvements and upgrades, things of that nature. So that's going to be attractive. Playing in the AFC South, a division that in the D'Amico Ryans era, he has mostly owned. 2 out of the last 3 years being the champion, finishing runner-up this year. You talk about being in a division where you're not paying the Zocdoc that other divisions do. When you get to go play against Tennessee, no state income tax, and go play against Jacksonville, no state income tax. So, of course, you got the culture, the weather of Houston. Houston is a cool city, quite frankly, to Black athletes, the majority of the league being African-American, that want to come and play. The only position that I think I have to second guess is the running back spot. Running back, I don't know.
Really?
Now, Joe Mixon,
I thought it'd be receiver over running back.
If you receiver, you want to come here. Why? I'm saying because of the opportunities. Because Nico's going to miss games. Tank Dell, unfortunately, has missed games for several reasons. Christian Kirk missed games. He's a free agent. I think we're going to wave goodbye to him. And to me, Higgins and Noel have not shown you enough that they are the heir apparent. Now, those players will get better. They'll be productive. But if you are, there was a reason Christian Kirk wasn't tripping. Now, again, he got the deal done before those guys signed, before those guys were drafted. But a legit NFL receiver, even as a 2, isn't tripping about Higgins and Noel being on this roster. If T. Higgins was a free agent this year, he's not being afraid of Higgins and Noel.
I think Houston is one of the more attractive franchises based on city alone. Like what Stan pointed out, man, you know, if you win out here in Houston, the city loves you. And here's the thing, franchise history-wise, like they hadn't made it to the AFC Championship game. So the city falls in love with players more than the team itself because there isn't a team like what's made this year so disappointing. This team didn't make it to the AFC Championship game, so how will they be remembered? They'll be more so remembered locally, but nationally, it'll be remember that Texan team. It'll be a trivia question 10 years down the line that finished number 2. But we love Andre out here. We love DeAndre so much out here. You still got fans wanting to bring him back.
J.J. Watt, Jonathan Joseph.
J.J. Watt out here. A lot of people who love football and gave it time, people still talk about Mario Williams, how good he was. Arian Foster still loved out here. Former co-host, our host, whenever we did the games, Wade get love out here. Dwayne Brown gets love out here. Jadavian gets love. Cushion gets love. Once the city loves you, like you're good in Houston to the point where it's infectious, you don't want to leave. I don't know how many cities that offers what Houston offers can make a player feel like that. Now, granted, Houston is 1 out of 32 teams. Every city could have their own niche. Every city could have its own thing that makes, players fall in love. But, I mean, like, we ain't Cleveland. I've never heard anybody say I want to go to vacation in Cleveland. Do you want to go to vacation in Cleveland? Shout out to Joaquin Noah. But I think Houston itself as a city offers a lot that's attractive to players, which is why I think, Stephon Diggs was like, I can come here. Joe Mixon, I can come here. The 2024 offseason, the Neil Hunter, I can come back home, which is probably their best free agent class. So there's some things that the city offers that other cities don't offer.
No question about that. As a man that has worked in other NFL cities, I can tell you that there's a reason I'm here. H-Town has a unique identity, no question about that, and guys are going to love that. But there are some other cities. The city of New York is cool too, but both of those franchises suck. Miami's a cool city. And Miami's a cool city, and they don't take taxes, and they suck. So there are some other Chicago. Now, guys ultimately want to win games and get paid. What's going to make Houston the most attractive is that D'Amico has been one of the last 8 teams standing the last 3 seasons, excuse me. So that is what's going to do it for most guys. And then all those other things that we're talking about are going to help. If you were to ask me, which is your question, MC, where do the Houston Texans rank in terms of desirability, regardless of position? I would put them definitely in the top 3. I'll put him in the top 3. I think it's special when you're making millions of dollars and you can go play with a Sean McVay and live in Los Angeles. I think that's got to be pretty damn cool. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to think who else would be up there. Guys will go to Buffalo, but I don't know the guys.
Seattle's probably going to get that now with McDonald.
Seattle has always been a Cooper. All the NFL guys I know, even the guys that are from the Deep South that go play up there in the Pacific Northwest, they love it.
Yeah.
They love playing up there. A couple guys don't come back. But I would say Houston be top 3. The LA Rams will be on there. Let's see what they can get going in Vegas. Vegas will be intriguing.
I'd hate to live in Vegas. Oh, my gosh. I wouldn't want to do Vegas.
I put a quality of life out there in Henderson, Nevada.
I'll say this one thing. I'm a mass comment said. Vegas has the best. One thing that California is known for, I think Vegas is better. So there's some things that I think Vegas offers, but I wonder how much of Vegas could take away from football.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, they're building that program. Chicago is going to be something to keep our eyes on moving forward. Chicago is a cool place. And then, speaking of stadiums, the DC
City, Indiana,
the DC them, but also the DC City Council recently approved that the Commanders are going to be going back to RFK, which is up there in what's that? That's Northwest DC. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to have a new deal. Playing ball in DC, they got young Jaden Daniels coming back from some off-season procedures and things of that nature. But to ask rank, top 3 for me for sure, maybe even top 2. The only one I can see as probably clearly better is just seeing what's going on with Sean McVay and the LA Rams, winning Super Bowls, getting the title games and things of that nature.
It's a good spot to be if that's the way that they're truly viewed across the game. Guys, final thoughts or parting shots here on a Sunday night. Who wants to lead us off?
Yeah, man, we've been having a good back and forth in the comments section. Shout out to AZ and X Factor, Hardy Hard. He's been getting it popping. Sideline Sarah's in the mix.
She does a great job. Appreciate Sarah.
She does an amazing job on social, doing spreading Texans information. There's been some good back and forth in the comment section on this Sunday evening. So shout out to you guys for spending time with us. You can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Don't get caught in them DMs talking about your coworker or your teammates. How about that?
That's a good one.
Get KD'd.
That's a good one. Stan?
For me, it's about the power rankings and really more so projections for 2026. I've been reading a lot of stuff, and I don't have them in front of me at the moment. Maybe we'll do that when we get back together on Tuesday. But a lot of people are predicting the Houston Texans to not only reclaim their title as AFC South champions, but a lot of people are saying Houston Texans, another double-digit win season. They will be right back in a position that they've been in the last 3 years, an opportunity to advance to the AFC title game. So you're talking about attractiveness, you're talking about new stadium and marketability and appeal and all those things. I like where the Texans are trending. I'm a big fan, for those that may not believe that, big fan of the Houston Texans as an organization. I'm very proud of them. I love the city of Houston. I just want to see how they address the things in the margins that catapult this team to a conference title game and perhaps a Super Bowl. It's going to be something that keeps us engaged this offseason.
Houston Texans Super Bowl champs 2026 season.
Didn't you say that about 5? You said that about 25 too.
I just say it every year, and just one year it's going to hit finally. I'm just going to keep saying it.
You know what we have to talk about for Houston? I know we got to close out. And I think this is a very interesting conversation. If they do decide to go all in and spend top dollar at a position, what player deserves it for Houston? Who could be that game-changing player for the Houston Texans?
That's a great question, John, and one that we will answer on Tuesday on the Locked On Texans Squad show. Join us then live on the YouTube channel. For Stan and John, I'm Michael. Thank you for stopping by, watching and listening. We'll talk to you again Tuesday night, Locked On Texans Squad show.